Hello guys, I'm Hunt Unit 751 and today we're bringing you the last of the special farewell videos for the Xbox 360 before we move on to the Xbox One. The finale is the top 20 moments ever in Ninja Warrior of Halo history. We've had 16 incredible tournaments on the Xbox 360, from Halo 3 to Halo Reach to Halo 4. We've had 1,000 competitors run the course, with some ridiculous runs, ridiculous failures, incredible successes, and incredible moments. And I've gone through them all, the good, bad, and all the other rubbish in between, to pick out the 20 best, in my opinion, so far in Ninja Warrior of Halo history. From Stage 1 to Stage 4, from Tournament 1 to Tournament 16, the moments you're seeing on the screen right now were good, but just weren't good enough or memorable enough to make it into the top 20 list. The question is, which ridiculous failure or incredible success, which piece of a miraculous skill or miraculous luck made it into our countdown? We're going to find out, guys, and we're also going to be getting the opinions of some of the biggest names in the jumping community and the biggest stars in Ninja Warrior of Halo's history. So let's not waste any more time, guys. Here we go with the top 20 moments on the Xbox 360 for Ninja Warrior of Halo. Kicking off the countdown at 20, we're going all the way back to the beginning.
Hey guys, it's Hunter Unit 751 here from my channel, Extreme UK Gaming.
Okay, not that far back. I'm talking about Tournament 1, the tournament that officially kick-started Ninja Warrior of Halo into the jumping history books on Halo 3. We saw the first 15 ever competitors take on the course, with some pretty impressive runs, pretty impressive failures as well. But the one that really stood out for me was the first place finisher, Doom Knight Omega, who ended up becoming the early pace setter by completing the first stage with the fastest time and then becoming the first ever competitor to make it to the third stage. He was also the only competitor to make it to stage 3 in that tournament before he wiped out early. Nevertheless, he set the early benchmark for others to follow in future tournaments, and he kicks off our countdown at number 20. Number 19 isn't focused around any specific runs, but it's a more general overview of the course, specifically Stage 1, the stage that's attempted by every single competitor in Ninja Warrior of Halo history, and has evolved in a wide variety of different ways down the years. Now, what I mean by this is that whenever a new tournament comes along, competitors always expect to see a new obstacle or some kind of change to the course. And I love seeing this, seeing competitors have to adapt in order to beat a new course. A lot of the times they don't manage to succeed though. Tournament 5 saw the introduction of the jump hang and the warped wall, very infamous Ninja Warrior obstacles. And in this first tournament, the competitors really struggled to adapt in order to beat them. If I had to pick an individual competitor that really struggled to adapt, it would probably be Taco Guy 117. This Spartan Warrior veteran made it to stage 3 on his debut in Tournament 4, but following this he massively struggled with the new jump hang, failing it in 3 of his next 4 appearances. The one time when he did get past it in Tournament 7, he completed stage 1, showing that once he'd worked out how to do the obstacle and adapt to beat it, he was successful. But then when it was redesigned again in Tournament 9, he then struggled and failed it again. If I had to pick an individual tournament though, where competitors' adaptability is evident, it's probably Tournament 13, because this Stage 1 introduced a wide variety of new obstacles, whilst classic obstacles like the rolling ball and jump hang were redesigned into new versions. It literally did feel like the whole Stage 1 was brand new, and as a result, no matter how experienced you were, you had to stay on your toes if you wanted to succeed. Top veterans like Spiteful, Elite, Dom, Smoky and Ree had all beaten Stage 1 in the previous tournament and beat Stage 1 in this tournament because they were able to adapt to the new course in order to defeat the new obstacles. So overall, whilst this moment at number 19 isn't focused around anything individual and it's a more general overview of the continuous changes to Stage 1 down the years, one of the things I love to see in Ninja Warrior of Halo is how the competitors adapt to a new challenge and a new course. And with a completely new and different course coming up in Tournament 17 on the Xbox One, it'll be interesting to see how the returning competitors fare on these new challenges. The next moment is actually one I'd missed out on the original countdown. At number 18 we have Smoky Massacre in Tournament 13 when he made it to the Mongoose slider but tragically just fell short of reaching the final stage. Now this was an incredible moment because it was the first time since Tournament 6 that anyone had made it to the Mongoose slider in Stage 3. Whilst for Smoky himself, this was arguably the first tournament where we really got to see just how skilled a competitor he is. He made it to the third stage in Tournaments 11 and 12, but didn't really have a big impact on either of them. But in Tournament 13, he flew through the first and second stage, and this time on Stage 3, his training paid off. I did consider putting his Tournament 6 run in this spot, because it was the first time he beat Stage 1, but overall I feel this moment has a bigger impact on his career. Because this was arguably the first tournament where competitors really stood up and noticed Smoky and realised that he could be one of the top competitors on this course and go on to bigger and greater things. Also, let's be honest, Smoky, it's a pretty good wipeout as well. Number 17 is a moment of pure skill from one of our ninja competitors. In Tournament 5, Sniper 761 made his debut on the course, and whilst he got past the rolling ball, he really struggled to get it rolling onto the track and lost a lot of time, and this may have inadvertently led to his failure on the rising pillars due to him rushing to get through it. So when he came back in Tournament 6, he had a new game plan, and boy did it work. He pushed the ball onto the track and then shot it to stop it rolling so he could jump onto it safely. And incredibly, this technique worked, and he went on to complete the first stage for the first time ever. I wasn't too surprised to see this because Sniper is a bit like Dob in the sense that he's confident in his abilities and he loves to have fun on the course. But to have the confidence to pull a move off like that, I just could not believe it. It is one of the most skillful things I have ever seen a competitor do on one of these courses. And it was greatly appreciated by one of his oldest friends.
Yeah, that was the purest example of ultimate jump awareness I've ever seen in my entire jumping career. I feel like the guy was handsome though.
Number 16 goes to Spiteful for his incredible Stage 1 winning streak on the Halo 4 course. Now Spiteful made his debut all the way back in Tournament 6 on the Halo Reach course and has competed in every tournament since then. Initially though he struggled, failing the first stage in all 4 of his appearances on the Halo Reach course. He got as far as the Warped Wall once but fell as early as the Rolling Ball in the final Xbox 360 tournament. So coming into Tournament 10, expectations were very low for Spiteful. But in that tournament, he ended up producing one of the biggest shocks of the tournament. He put together a very composed and controlled run and was one of only 6 competitors to complete the first stage in that tournament. And then he almost made it to Stage 3, coming up just short at the very end of Stage 2. That success in Tournament 10 though proved to be the springboard, as Spiteful got better and better as Halo 4 went on, and incredibly completed the first stage 7 times in a row, and he is the only competitor to have beaten Stage 1 in every single Halo 4 tournament. It is just an unbelievable record. Although he hasn't had any individual runs that have kind of been out of this world or spectacular, and he's yet to achieve a first or second place finish in Ninja Warrior of Halo, I just had to acknowledge this incredible record and winning streak by Spiteful in Stage 1. And it's still ongoing, so I'm really looking forward to seeing if he can continue this winning streak on the Xbox One. Number 15 goes to Sakeshi in Tournament 11 when he finally completed the first stage. Sakeshi has been competing since Tournament 5 and is one of Ninja Warrior of Halo's biggest fans, but despite his determination, he never completed Stage 1 in any of his first 5 appearances. But on his 6th appearance in Tournament 11, all his determination and practice finally paid off, as he just made it to the finish line within the time limit and advanced to the second stage for the first time ever as one of 13 competitors in that tournament. On his first ever attempt in Stage 2, although he gave it his best shot, he ultimately went out on the Spider Walk as one of 5 competitors that failed that obstacle in that tournament, and he finished, ironically, in 11th place in Tournament 11. Since then, he's competed 5 more times and has yet to complete the first stage for a second time, although he has made it to the last obstacle twice, in Tournaments 12 and in the final Xbox 360 tournament. I actually think that those failures sort of highlight how even more impressive his Stage 1 success is, because of how difficult it has been for him. He comes in at number 15. Number 14 is a recognition to all the competitors that contributed to the many records that were set in Tournament 16. We saw so many records, both good and bad, set in the final Xbox 360 tournament. We had 22 Stage 1 clears, 11 Stage 2 clears, more clears than ever before on the cliffhanger in Stage 3, the most people ever made it to the final obstacle of Stage 3, the most competitors ever attempted the final jump of Stage 3, the list goes on and on. We did, however, have some negative records. We saw the most Stage 2 failures ever, the most Stage 3 failures ever, and the most failures ever on a Stage 2 or 3 obstacle in a single tournament, with 7 people failing the metal spin. Nevertheless, whether it was a good or bad record, without doubt, Tournament 16 was one that will not be forgotten for a long time. And as recognition to all the competitors that contributed to it, it comes in at number 14. Sticking with the Tournament 16 theme, at number 13 is Alpha Puma for his incredible comeback performance. Puma had only just made his debut on Ninja Warrior of Halo in the previous tournament. However, he fell early on Stage 1 on the rolling ball. So to prepare for Tournament 16, he trained hard. And I mean trained hard. And it most definitely paid off, as he flew through the first stage with consummate ease to post the 4th fastest time overall out of the 22 clears. He then produced an equally impressive and fast performance in Stage 2. But Stage 3 was where he really shone through. On a stage which normally wipes out every competitor that attempts it, Puma looked so in control. He looked like someone who had put in the practice and knew exactly what he had to do. And were it not for a very unlucky bounce getting off of the Devil's Jump, he could have been on the final stage. Nevertheless, he was satisfied with his performance.
It was very satisfying. Going into that tournament, I felt very good about my chances of not only beating Stage 1, but beating Stage 2. And when I got to Stage 3, I wanted to kind of have some fun with it.
For me, Tournament 16 was just, it kind of captured all of Puma's skill, because Puma had been impressing me for a very long time. I know he failed the balance tank in Tournament 15, but the fact that he was able to he just kept practicing and he kept coming back for more, and his determination really just showed off in Tournament 16, and that's why I wasn't surprised that he did as well as he did in Tournament 16, because I knew he could do it.
One of the best comeback performances ever on this course, and a performance that showed us just how skilled Puma is, and what we can expect to see on the Xbox One. Now for a very emotional moment for me personally. At number 12 is the retirement of All-Stars Drago, Dom and Ree in the final Xbox 360 tournament. This was emotional for me because it was saying farewell to 3 of the best ever competitors on my course, with all three of them announcing their retirement at once, and the final Xbox 360 tournament would be their last appearance. All three of them have been around since pretty much the very beginning of the Halo Reach days, and have established themselves as the most consistent and most successful competitors of all time on the course. Their Stage 3 runs in particular, I feel, were very poignant to their jumping careers. Drago, the man who has always strived to be the #1 competitor, once again fell short of his target and fell much earlier than he was expecting to. Dodgeball, the man who, when he made his debut, was considered to never have a chance of standing amongst the elite. Well, he was doing just that, and although he couldn't beat his ultimate nemesis, the Cliffhanger, he got closer to beating it than ever before. And Re95, the Grand Champion who's always strived to put on performances worthy of being a Grand Champion. He was desperate to get back to the final stage one last time, but whilst he got close, sadly, it wasn't to be. Truly, this was one of the most emotional moments for me ever, saying goodbye to these guys. Whilst for Drago himself, it was also very emotional.
It was pretty sad because I knew at the time that I didn't have the means. Like, I lost a lot of motivation to jump after a couple years into it. Like, Halo 4, the game really kind of killed me, and I was super tired of playing the game. And basically, jumping was the only thing to do on that game. And that was pretty much the only cool thing about Halo 4 was foraging. To be honest, it was probably one of the saddest things that's ever happened that was caused by a video game. Like, I hit like a depression.
I mean, it was pretty sad, but I was already kind of away from Xbox Live for the most part by the time like Tournament 16 happened. And so like that wasn't really when it hit me. It was more around like Tournament 14 or 11 or something when I started not really talking to those guys a lot. So I guess I was kind of more prepared for it than others were maybe.
Basically, the way I see it, it's like Glenn leaving Walking Dead, right? That's like one of your favorite characters. They were there from the beginning, and then they're just like, nah, can't go on anymore.
Although there will always be a place for each and every one of these guys should they want to come back. If they don't come back, I wish them the best with all their lives, and they will most certainly never be forgotten on this course. Number 11 goes to Dustbuster 2K in Tournament 8 when he completed the first stage for his first time ever. Much like Sakeshi, Duster was a big fan of the course and couldn't wait to start competing. But when he did, he found Stage 1 to be extremely difficult, failing it in all of his first 5 attempts, including 2 failures on the final obstacle, 1 timeout in Tournament 4, and 1 failure in Tournament 7. And all of this was whilst his close friends, Irish 1200 and Dodgeball were both able to complete Stage 1, and he still couldn't. But on his 6th appearance in Tournament 8, he finally did complete the first stage, and then on the second stage, despite it being his first time ever, and all of the obstacles being very unfamiliar to him, he powered through them very skillfully, to be honest, making it to the finish line and advancing to the third stage, where ultimately he went out on the first obstacle. Nevertheless, it was most certainly very satisfying for Duster, and even more impressive when you consider the fact that Tournament 8, only 4 people beat Stage 1 in that tournament, and Duster was one of only 2 to make it to the third stage.
I mean, it's extremely satisfying. A lot of people kind of work hard, but you can work hard and still fail, so when it all comes together and you clear, it's a pretty good feeling.
He finished second after his first Stage 1 clear. Now, that to me, that's an amazing feat, because when you have competitors such as me, Ree, you know, the whole bunch of them, it's really hard to get up to at least top 5. And for Duster, that was probably the highlight of his career.
Well, it may have been the highlight of his career, because it was certainly his best ever performance on the course, because sadly Duster has never made it back to the third stage since Tournament 8. Nevertheless, he can savour that Tournament 8 success, and of course, he did achieve his other big goal.
I beat Drago.
Oh, shit.
It's great.
Now for one of the most shocking failures ever on Stage 1, number 10 goes to Elite MKB when he failed the jump hang in Tournament 14. This was shocking because at the time, Elite MKB had established himself as one of the top performers on Halo 4, consistently beating the first and second stage, and in fact coming into Tournament 14, he'd beaten Stage 1 5 tournaments in a row. But just prior to his run, we saw Spiteful complete the first stage, setting the fastest ever Stage 1 clear time. And since Elite is a racer, maybe his racing instincts took over here, as he looked to try and beat the time. He does like to go fast on the course, but what he was doing was just completely ridiculous. So when he did fail, I was shocked, but at the same time, I honestly wasn't too surprised because of his speed.
Although it was very shocking, he was going extremely fast, and he probably was trying to get fast time, focusing more on that than actually beating the course or Stage 1 or that obstacle. And that led to his downfall, and it's sad to see him go because he's one of the top guys. It's gotta suck too because he was going on for his 6th straight. He didn't fail a Halo 4 tournament going into that one.
Missing out on setting a new record of 6 straight Stage 1 clears in a row, Elite MKB's shocking failure comes in 10th place. Number 9 goes to Re95 for his impressive debut performance in Tournament 2, when he was the only competitor to make it to the 3rd stage, and then he became the first ever competitor in Ninja Warrior of Halo history to make it to the final stage. Re had established a reputation for himself after some impressive performances on Spartan Warrior, and so expectations were set very high for him, and he most certainly lived up to those expectations when he made it to the final stage. Sadly though, despite his best efforts, he was not quick enough up the tower and came up 2 jumps too short. Nevertheless, even to this day, Re's debut performance still stands as the best ever debut performance by any competitor, and of course he set the benchmark for more competitors to try to reach the final stage in the future. Number 8 is a recognition to all of the newcomers that contributed to the incredible Stage 1 winning streak we saw from them between Tournaments 7 and 16. The first ever tournament and the first Halo Reach tournament were obviously filled mainly with newcomers, whilst in Tournament 4 we saw 2 newcomers make it to the 2nd stage. Tournaments 5 and 6, however, no newcomers made it past the 1st stage, but since Tournament 7 we've had at least 1 newcomer complete the 1st stage in every tournament. That's 10 tournaments in a row of newcomer success. From Urban Angel to LZ Ravager, Sane the Legend, H4 Logic, Expose, Buddy Jumps, Go Tanks, Master Neuromac, Killer the Man. These are just some of the guys on the list of newcomers that have contributed to this incredible winning streak. In fact, in the last 5 tournaments, we've had at least 2 newcomers make it to the 2nd stage, which makes it even more impressive. Arguably, in my opinion, the most impressive of all those newcomer runs came from the most recent newcomer to succeed. Shady Degree 02 not only beat the 1st and 2nd stage, but he became the first ever competitor to beat the cliffhanger on their debut, before ultimately going out on the very next obstacle, the jumping bars. But he still managed to get as far as 14-time veteran iGametypes, who is one of the most experienced competitors of all time, not just on Ninja Warrior of Halo, but also in Halo jumping in general. Truly, this record just absolutely baffles me that it's still going on 10 tournaments in. And I'm looking forward to seeing if we can continue the record into the Xbox One and seeing what the next generation of competitors can do. Okay, time for a bit of vanity. I, the great Hunter Unit 751, have had some cracking commentary quotes down the years. Obstacle so far in this tournament. He gets up at first time. He's in with a real chance now. Get it done, but he's not! Stain! No, 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 no! The warped wall is killing his run. Jump onto the column and then get to the other side. Nars! Nars! Oh, he's undone! But one of the most memorable quotes also happens to coincide with one of the most shocking failures ever, if not the most shocking, in Ninja Warrior of Halo history. Number 7 goes to Drago is Sick when he failed the balance tank in Tournament 12. Now prior to this, Drago had established himself as the early pace setter, finishing in first place in both of the first 2 Halo 4 tournaments. As recognition for that, in Tournament 12, he was given the number 100, and things were looking good for him as he completed the first stage once again, but then incredibly he failed the balance tank when he was trying to go too fast, copying a technique by Smoky Massacre. Truly a shocking moment, particularly for Drago himself.
Throughout Tournament 12, I remembered I was practicing like a lot on stage 3, because I knew I had stage 1 and 2 down. So, and my main concern, stage 3 was my biggest concern. When I fell on the balance tank, like, I jumped in midair, and I realized, like, oh my god, I'm not gonna make this. And then I just immediately, just like, no! It was the biggest crushing defeat of my life.
Drago is easily one of the best jumpers that Halo has ever seen. So obviously him going out on the balance tank is a big shock on stage 2, but I feel like Drago, you know, when you've been jumping for a long time, you start to get different techniques down, and you just think, you kind of get the idea that you know exactly how a certain jump is going to act, and I think Drago just slightly miscalculated with that balance tank, and obviously it cost him, so I can't really blame Drago for making a simple mistake like that.
He's been to so many stage 3s on your course, I would just imagine in general, if he doesn't get there, he's disappointed. But, you know, he's an aggressive jumper. He took the ball a little aggressive, and he just came up a little off, and that's all it takes. But his record's so good on your course, what can you say?
This was arguably a big turning point for Drago, as he not only stalled his momentum on the course, but it also arguably was the moment when Drago started falling out of love with the course and considered retirement. Oh, and as for that quote, he's doing the same technique as Smoky, gonna pole vault it. No, he's not! Drago! Oh my god, Drago! Now it's time for what is, in my opinion, my favourite ever wipeout on Ninja Warrior of Halo. We have had some cracking wipeouts down the years on this course, particularly on mongoose-based obstacles. No matter how hard the competitors try, they just keep finding all kinds of ridiculous ways to wipe out and spectacular ways to flop off the course. But the most spectacular, my most favourite wipeout of all time, does not involve a mongoose. Number 6 goes to iGametypes in Tournament 9 when he was quite literally thrown off the course by Dodgeball in Stage 2. This wipeout, honestly, when it happened, I just could not believe it. I was laughing so much. He tried doing the obstacle fast, and the obstacle fought back. It literally rejected him off the course, and I could just watch it over and over again and still not stop laughing. In my opinion, my favourite ever wipeout on Ninja Warrior of Halo. Number 5 goes to Sane the Legend for his incredible first place finish performance in Tournament 15. Now, you've heard me tell the story of Sane the Legend many a time in the past, and I'm going to tell it again. Sane made his debut on this course in Tournament 10 in the first Halo 4 tournament, where he impressed many competitors by beating Stage 1 on his debut, and he was one of only 6 to make it to the second stage. Unfortunately, his Stage 2 run ended very early, as he went out on the first obstacle, the chain reaction. He did not compete in Tournament 11, but came back for Tournament 12, and following this, he struggled on the course, failing Stage 1 3 times in a row, twice on the jump hang in Tournaments 12 and 13, followed by one time out on the last obstacle in Tournament 14. This led many people to believe that his Tournament 10 success was just a fluke, and that he wasn't skilled enough to get back to the second stage. But in Tournament 15, he proved all the doubters wrong, not only getting back to winning ways on Stage 1, but beating the chain reaction and the second stage to guarantee himself a personal best in Tournament 15. But in Stage 3, his performance was spectacular. With no time limit, Sane took his time, analysed all the obstacles, worked out how to do them, and one by one started beating them. And the longer the run went on and the further he got in, I was just left more and more shocked at what I was seeing. This was one of the most unexpected runs I'd ever seen on the course, considering how little an impact Sane had had prior to this performance. Sadly, for all the majesty and for how impressive the run was, it sadly ended in tragedy. Sane tried to go too fast on the mongoose slider, got stuck on the bump, and couldn't recover to attempt the last jump. Nevertheless, as I said, that performance saw Sane become only the 7th different competitor to finish in first place in one of these tournaments, and it showed on his day Sane is a very skilled competitor.
Sane was surprising because from 11 to 15, or 11 to 14, he didn't really do that much on the course. He failed Stage 1. Yeah, he had beaten Stage 1 in Tournament 10, but he was just kind of a there guy. He was average. He showed up to every tournament. He was always there. But then came out of nowhere getting to the last obstacle. And he proved not only he's a good jumper outside of Ninja Warrior, but he's a great jumper in Ninja Warrior.
Sane the Legend has, to me, always been one of the best jumpers on Halo in just jump maps. The guy makes so many jump maps. He's so involved with the jumping community. And he is easily one of the most underappreciated jumpers on Halo, if you ask me. So seeing him do well in Tournament 15, it felt so good to me to finally see Sane have a breakthrough tournament like that so that he could finally get the spotlight that he has deserved for such a long time.
Smoky's comments are very telling of Sane. He's been in the jumping community for a long time now, but he never really put on a performance that was kind of out of this world and on my course or on Smoky's course, and made him seem like he could be the guy. He could be one of the #1 competitors on this course. But Tournament 15 changed all that, and his Tournament 16 run was equally telling, because he not only matched his Tournament 15 performance, but he went one further. He made it to the last jump, but once again fell just short of making it to the final stage. Nevertheless, he became only the 4th different person to make it to the last obstacle of Stage 3 2 tournaments in a row, alongside Drago, Defiant and Smoky, and of course he proved that his Tournament 15 run was no fluke. I can't wait to see what Sane can deliver on the Xbox One, but for now his Tournament 15 performance comes in at number 5. Number 4 goes to Smoky Massacre when he made it to the final stage for his first time ever in Tournament 14. This was an incredible moment because it was the first time since Tournament 5 that anyone had made it to the final stage, whilst for Smoky himself, this was his first big chance to achieve the ultimate goal, the ultimate accolade in Ninja Warrior of Halo, total victory. The chance to dethrone Re95 and replace him as the new Grand Champion.
That was crazy because in Tournament 13, the way I went out, I was like, if I ever get back here again, I can't imagine myself ever beating this last obstacle, because that last obstacle, that mongoose slider or whatever it's called, is tough. And yeah, so getting past it in Tournament 14 was a shock for me, especially because when I started competing back in Tournament 5, I had no ambition of ever getting to the final stage. I didn't think that would ever happen. I thought it'd be awesome. I thought getting to Stage 2 in Tournament 6 was going to be the best I ever did in your course. So fast forwarding all the way to Tournament 14, the fact that I was able to come so far and finally make it to the final stage felt really good for me.
because he'd never done it, right? And he's gotten to stage 3 so many times, but he was really confident that he could get to stage 4. I is I think he wants to get total victory at that point, but at the same time, I think he got somewhere he never got, so he was happy.
Well, Snaz knows better than anyone what it was like. He was there to witness Smoky's Tournament 14 performances, and he saw him take on the final stage. But sadly, for all the joy, for all the happiness at seeing Smoky get to the final stage, once again it ended in defeat for Smoky, as he came up short on the last jump of the final stage. I could not believe how close Smoky got to making it. If he had made the jump, he could have potentially achieved total victory because he was within the time limit. But Ninja Warrior is cruel, and the final stage in particular is so deadly. Even the simplest of jumps could take you out. Despite all this, though, I knew Smoky would not give up. I knew that that failure would just make him hungry for more. He would want to get. I knew he'd want to get back to the final stage to get another shot at the tower and another chance at achieving total victory. I knew he wouldn't give up. Overall, Tournament 14, it was good and bad. It finally saw someone get back to the final stage, despite us seeing just how ruthless it can be. And this was, once and for all, if anyone doubted it before, this was without doubt the moment when Smoky established himself as the #1 challenger to Ree's title. He'd gone from being a competitor that was still failing stage 1 4 tournaments ago to a potential grand champion. Smoky's Tournament 14 performance comes in at number 4. Now we have made it to the top 3, and coming in 3rd place is Drago and USS Defiant 1 when they both made it to the final stage in Tournament 5. Now Tournament 5 saw a massive overhaul to the course, with several new obstacles introduced across all 4 stages, designed to wipe out our competitors. And it most definitely worked, as stage 1 decimated the field. Out of 45 challengers that took it on, only 3 made it to the 2nd stage, whilst the brothers Drago and Defiant were the only 2 to make it to the 3rd stage. But what we then witnessed was a true masterclass on how to beat stage 3. Despite the changes that had been made to the stage, including the introduction of the cliffhanger, both competitors made it to the finish line and advanced to the final stage for their first times. This was record breaking because it was the first, and currently still is, the only time in Ninja Warrior of Halo history where we've had 2 or more competitors make it to the final stage in the same tournament. This was exciting for me as a host because it was the only time that we've got to see 2 competitors go head to head against each other on the final stage to see who could get to the top, and with both of these guys being all-stars as well, fighting to become a grand champion. Brothers turned against each other, you might say. Nevertheless, though, despite this, they both ended up wiping out. Drago surprisingly going out much earlier than he expected on the turrets, whilst for Defiant, his wipeout was even more tragic. He wasted way too much time at the top of the columns trying to transfer onto the turrets. And despite some really impressive turret jumping skills from him, and some very fast turret jumping, he made it to the finish line 2 seconds too late and timed out. Nevertheless, despite those defeats, this was truly an incredible accomplishment for both competitors.
I was only, well, we were 4 tournaments in. I was super excited because I was like, oh my god, 4 tournaments in and I'm already like a final stage contender. Like, it hit me hard, and I was super proud. I was like, man, all this practice, it actually went to something, and, you know, I actually earned this, and I made it to this point. And just all the practice and whatnot that went into going into that and making it to the final stage, I was livid, man. I was like, what? I'm in the final stage.
It's a big moment stats-wise.
Defiant, he was really excited for it. He wasn't excited for it as I was, because he'll jump, but he doesn't take it seriously as I do.
Tournament 5 was a very defining moment for both of these guys, but I would say more so for Defiant because Drago, I believe his more defining moments were like his couple first place in Halo 4 that he achieved on a, what I think is a much more difficult course.
Overall, it was probably the biggest moment in my life to make it to stage 4 right there.
Despite the success, though, neither competitor ever made it back to the final stage following this, and Defiant is now retired from the course. Nevertheless, this record-breaking, once-in-a-lifetime, or well, once ever on Ninja War of Halo, was still spectacular. The date with the Drago brothers on the final stage in Tournament 5 comes in 3rd place. Now, before you guys go raging at me, at least hear me out for both. In 2nd place is the final ever run on the Xbox 360 when Smoky Massacre achieved total victory to become the 2nd Grand Champion. This moment for Smoky could probably be summed up in 3 words: redemption and euphoria. Despite seeing his fellow All-Stars all wipe out on the 3rd stage, and knowing that for all 3 of them this was their last chance to achieve the ultimate goal of total victory, and they failed. Despite that, despite holding the weight of the All-Stars, despite all the expectations on him to succeed, he was able to handle all of them. He was able to beat every challenge. He was able to defeat every obstacle that had defeated him before. And on his 11th try, Smoky finally achieved the ultimate accolade. He made it back to the final stage for his 2nd time after his failure on stage 3 in Tournament 15. But unlike in Tournament 14, this time he knew what to expect, and he knew exactly what he had to do. And he did just that. Despite one close call on the last column of the column climb, the rest of his final stage run was near perfection. As he was climbing, I knew he was going to do it. And he did it. Destiny was calling, and Smoky most certainly answered the call. And it was a moment truly incredible that was recognised amongst his fellow competitors.
It's pretty cool that we got a guy like Smoky Massacre to get total victory. You know, just because of where he came from. Like when he started out jumping, he wasn't really that great. Was feeling a lot of stage 1s, but then just kept working at it, and slowly worked his way to being a consistent stage 3 guy. And then ultimately the guy, right? And then made it to the final stage. Almost made it again in 15, and then got total victory in 16. So he had a spectacular run.
It was a pretty big moment. At the time, it wasn't on Xbox, and I was just sitting at home, and then I'm looking at my phone, scrolling through YouTube. All of a sudden, it says Tournament 16, and I'm just like, this is around the final episode. So I look at it, and then Smoky Massacre is in the final stage. And I'm looking at this, I was like, hold on, what? I was sitting at work, and I was like, yo, Smoky actually made it to the final stage. Like, props to him, good for him.
It was awesome. No, like, with Smoky clearing, it ended the Halo 4 era, it brought in Halo 5, and being there for every single one of his runs. I was, I believe, the only other person besides you who was at stage 1, 2, 3, and final. And seeing a total victory live, that's still a crazy moment.
Knowing Smoky, I know Ninja Warrior of Halo is his #1 tournament to participate in and, you know, hopefully succeed in. I think knowing he got to stage 4 the time before, I think he learned from that, and I think all he could think about is stage 3, because he knew if he could get to stage 4 again, he had a really good chance. And props to him, he got it done.
Now the dude's like a jumping legend. Back then, not so much. He was a good forger.
I think he's the kind of guy you want to be your grand champion, because I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to continue to work hard at this tournament and do well and have success. Maybe even win a 2nd grand championship.
Smoky is one of the most consistent jumpers I've ever seen. He knows how to jump. He doesn't even need practice. He can clear stages, and I believe he'll have no difficulties going on to the Xbox One.
He was the best jumper in your tournament in the 360, so it's appropriate to me that he got it. And then it was really nice the way Ree showed respect and kind of transferred over the title. That was really cool how Ree did that. Ree's a pretty cool guy, so yeah, that was pretty fun.
Truly, it was the perfect way to end the Xbox 360. Whilst the man himself, well, he was pretty humble about the whole thing.
It was very satisfying because, like I said, Tournament 13 went out on the last obstacle, Stage 3. Tournament 14, I got to the final stage and choked the dismount, which was too bad. But I felt like after that Tournament 14 failure, I felt like I know I can do this. If I could just get back to the final stage, I know I could beat this. And for me, it was just getting back to the final stage seemed like the most impossible task. In Tournament 15, obviously, I screwed up on the Mongoose. So in Tournament 16, the fact that I was somehow able to collect all of my jumping abilities and hone them into one run, which was my Tournament 16 performance, I was very glad that things went my way in that tournament. And I feel like I did get very lucky. I feel like the four-leaf clover was on my side in that tournament, but I'm very happy that I was able to get total victory. And now, even if I don't ever make it back to the final stage, at least I had my tournament where I could say I was in my prime.
Which brings us to number 1, and I'm sure by now it should be pretty obvious. Number 1 goes to Re95 in Tournament 4 when he became the first ever competitor to achieve total victory in Ninja Warrior of Halo. Now, whilst Smoky's success was truly incredible, and was equally deserving to finish in first place because it was a real rags to riches tale, so to speak, for Smoky, as he went from being a guy that continuously failed the first stage to becoming the second ever Grand Champion. Whilst that was truly impressive, for me personally, I just enjoyed Ree's backstory more. Coming into the course, Ree was the nearly man. In 4 appearances on Spartan Warrior on the Halo Reach course, he'd established himself as the number 1, the most successful competitor on that course, making it to the final stage, but he never achieved the total victory that he so desperately coveted. And his debut in Tournament 2, it was very impressive seeing him get to the final stage, and it showed to me just how skillful Ree was, and that he was as skillful as I thought he was. But again, he didn't achieve his goal of going all the way. I knew he could do it because he had the skills, but I had this worrying thought inside my head that he wouldn't ever do it. That's why his success in Tournament 4, for me personally, was truly incredible. Coming into Tournament 4, the man himself, I remember him telling me this, he didn't think he would achieve total victory. He was worried that the time would never come. But in Tournament 4, everything came together for him. He flew through every obstacle and every stage that was put in front of him. He made it back to the final stage for a second time, and the man who'd come so close so many times in the past but never succeeded finally achieved his goal of Kanzen Seiha. And of course, most importantly, he was the first ever competitor in Ninja Warrior of Halo history to achieve total victory. An incredible moment that arguably was the inspiration for a lot of other competitors.
Although I wasn't there, the first Ninja Warrior video concerning Halo I saw ever was your top 10 moments. I think it was your 100th video or something. And I saw Ree, and that was kind of the thing that talked me into messaging you to do a Tournament 15 run. So that's pretty important to me, just seeing that total victory is possible. And I believe that other people will get total victory and there'll be other grand champions.
He was the first one I ever saw in any Halo video on YouTube get victory. So when I think of Ree, I think of he's the first guy I ever saw do it. So It was pretty cool because at first I always wondered, do these guys, when they give a prize, make it impossible to get there so they don't have to pay the guys? But he got there, he won, so yeah.
Well, Ree getting total victory in Tournament 4 just kind of set the stage for the entire course, like all of Ninja Warrior Halo is like that's to me that's like the starting moment. Like Ree got total victory, and now Ree's legacy just carries on throughout all the other tournaments. He always comes back as the grand champion, and that's just like what you come to expect from the show. You go on, you want to see Ree because he's the grand champion. You want to see how good he can do. You want to see if he can keep raising the bar and keep trying to match up to what he did in Tournament 4. And for the most part, from what I've seen, Ree does deliver quite a bit because the dude is just awesome on your course. So seeing him get total victory early on and then just keep competing was really cool to me, and it definitely gave me something to look up to.
Once Ree made through stage 3, I was like, okay, there's no way Ree's gonna lose stage 4. That's Ree's thing. Like he's like a jumping god, like I said. And if it's just like a straight vertical climb, I know Ree can do it because I have that much faith in Ree, and I just think overall he's just the best jumper in the game. Probably still, if he came back today, he'd probably still be the best jumper.
Well, Ree's first total victory was huge. You always remember your first, so the first total victory in this course is always a big deal. It kind of sets the tone for all the competitors and also all the future tournaments. To have someone actually beat all 4 stages, it's huge. He was always great, constantly finished like top 5s, like a bunch of first place finishes. Was overall just a great competitor for this course.
In my opinion, that was probably the biggest moment in Ninja Warrior of Halo history, because after that, from then, it evolved really quick. Back then, it was the most important moment because it changed the course overall, and it was a special moment to me because, that's my best friend. Always will be. And overall, he just did an awesome job. Super proud of him.
And that was the top 20 moments so far on Ninja Warrior of Halo, and it brings down the final curtain on the 360. This chapter is over, but the story is far from finished. Smoky Massacre's total victory didn't just bring the perfect end to the 360, it also ushered in the new era of Ninja Warrior of Halo. The next generation of competitors will be preparing for the next generation of the course. 4 new stages, all filled with newer, tougher obstacles that will not only push our competitors to new limits, but will be the perfect test to see if they have what it takes to become a champion. Tournament 17 is the first step on this new adventure. Who will be the early pace setters? How far will our competitors get? Who will rise to the occasion? And who will crumble in defeat? Join us again soon to find out, but until then, I'm Hunt Unit 751, and we'll see you next time for Ninja Warrior of Halo Tournament 17.
Okay, watch the background now. Give it a second. Alright, that... Try and get the background. It rises. It's a giant worm. Okay, let's go. Let's go.